Okay, so at the conclusion of the Hozoin chapter, Musashi leaves the temple in good standings with the Hozoin. However, as he returns to retire for the day, he's eating. He sits down to eat, to have some food, and the house host says, hey, I have an extra room if you want to stay. And Musashi says yes, and he's willing to pay, but the female is a widow, and she tells him, hey, no, you can stay for free. And Musashi asks why, and she proceeds to tell him that the city's overrun by Ronin that are essentially criminals. That city's overrun by crime, and they tend to raid the houses that are taken care of by women or single women or widowed women. So she offers Musashi a place to stay for free as long as he wants. So Musashi takes that into consideration. He stays, and then the Ronin that were at the Hozoin come to him and try to set him up in terms of getting him to go to a gambling spot that they had set up, more or less to get him to become crooked, to leave the path and to go the crooked way, right? With them robbing and stealing and doing whatever, because they saw how good he is of a swordsman. It would be nice for Musashi to be on their team. Musashi catches a whiff of this. These guys are crooked Ronin, so he tells them to get the hell out, and they do. As they leave, they proceed to tweet or leave messages throughout the city, kind of setting Musashi up, telling the entire city that he is bad-mouthing the Hozoin, the temple, and the Hozoin catch wind of this, and they just figure out, the priests figure out, yeah, this is not Musashi, this is someone else setting up Musashi. So they set up a trap at Hannya Plain. So instead of running or going the opposite way, Musashi takes Jotaro with him and says, hey, we're gonna go meet this head on, let's go. You know, he knows that he hasn't said anything bad. He left the temple in good standing with the priests and the abbot. Anyway, Jotaro's freaked out. Musashi knows that this could be a very, very bad meeting / battle, but he's going to meet it head on. He's on the path. So I'm not going to read the portions of this that are the actual fight. You know, this book does contain a lot of so-called fighting, but it's not, to me, it's not pertinent to any portion of this book and what it relates to life and nature and all that. So I'm going to skip over those parts. I'll read a few of them, but it doesn't add to this story, to the tale, to nature, to what we're trying to uncover in this book. Here we go. Jotaro trudged along sadly behind his master, fearing each step was taking them closer to certain death. A little earlier on the damp, shady road near the Toraji, a dewdrop falling on his collar had almost made him cry out loud. The black crows he saw along the way gave him an eerie feeling. Moving along. Jotaro. The boy, startled at the sound of his name being called, his eyebrows shot up and his body became tense. Realizing his face was probably pale from fright and not wanting to appear childish, he turned his eyes bravely towards the sky. Musashi looked up at the sky too, and the boy felt more dispirited than ever. Then Musashi continued. It was in his usual cheerful tone. Feels good, doesn't it, Joe? It's as though we were walking along on the songs of the nightingales. What? Asked the boy, astonished. Nightingales, I said. Oh yeah, nightingales. There are some around here, aren't there? Musashi could see from the paleness of the boy's lips that he was dejected. He felt sorry for him. After all, in a matter of minutes, he might be suddenly alone in a strange place. Moving along, Jotaro broke down, tears streaming down his cheeks as if a dam had broken. The backs of his hands went up to his eyes and his shoulders quivered. His crying was punctuated by tiny spasms as if he had the hiccups. What is this? Aren't you supposed to be learning the way of the samurai? If I break and run, you run the same direction. If I get killed, go to the sake shop in Kyoto. But for now, go to that little hill and watch from there. You'll be able to keep an eye on everything that happens. Having wiped his tears, Jotaro grabbed Musashi's sleeve and blurted out, "Let's run away." That's no way for a samurai to talk. That's what you want to be, isn't it? I'm afraid. I don't want to die. With trembling hands, he kept trying to pull Musashi back by the sleeves. Think about me, he pleaded. Please, let's get away while we can. When you talk like that, you make me want to run too. You've got no parents who will look after you, just like me when I was your age. But then come on, what are we waiting for? No, Musashi turned and planted his feet wide apart, faced the child squarely. I'm a samurai. You're a samurai's son. You're not going to run away. Hearing the finality in Musashi's tone, Jotaro gave up and sat down, dirty tears rolling off his face as he rubbed his red and swollen eyes with his hands. Don't worry, said Musashi. I have no intention of losing. I'm going to win. Everything will be all right then. Don't you think? Jotaro took little comfort from his speech. He couldn't believe a word of it, knowing that the Hozoin Lancers numbered more than 10. He doubted whether Musashi, considering his reputation for weakness, could beat them one at a time, let alone all together. And again, this goes back to the rumors that were spread by Osugi about his fighting tactics and what he had done in the past. Again, these lies are spread quick and fast, and so those lies have reached Jotaro. But of course, it's not true, right? And again, these Ronin have spread more lies. They've plastered the city with notes about Musashi's tactics at the Hozoin. And Musashi walks towards the ambush and he meets up with the Denpachi, which is the guy that set the whole thing up. It's a Ronin. So here we go. Musashi pointed. That smoke over there. There's something suspicious about it, he said. Doesn't it look that way to you? Suspicious? In what way? Suspicious, like the look on your face right now, Musashi said sharply, abruptly sweeping his finger towards Denpachi. A sharp whistling sound broke the stillness on the plain. Denpachi gasped as Musashi struck, his attention diverted by Musashi's finger. Denpachi never realized that Musashi had drawn his sword. His body rose, fell forward, and landed face down. Denpachi would not rise again. Yeah, so that sets off the battle, and I want to get to a part here where he goes into the full ambush. There's like 15 to 30 potential rivals that Musashi's about to face, and this is why Jotaro's so heartbroken. Just can't believe that there's any way that Musashi can survive this, but here we go. Moving along. Musashi, I am Inshu, shouted the same priest. I'm told that you came while I was away and killed Aegon, that you later publicly insulted the honor of the Hozoin, that you mocked us by having posters put up all over town. Is this true? No, shouted Musashi. If you're a priest, you should know better than to trust only what you see and hear. You should consider things with your mind and spirit. It was like pouring oil on the flames. Ignoring their leader, the priests began to shout, saying, "Talk is cheap. It's time to fight." They were enthusiastically seconded by the Ronin, who had grouped themselves in close formation at Musashi's left, screaming, cursing, and waving their swords in the air. They egged the priest on to action. Musashi, convinced that the Ronin were all mouth and no fight, suddenly turned to them and shouted, "All right, which one of you wants to come forward?" All but 2 or 3 fell back a pace, each sure that Musashi's evil eye was upon them. The 2 or 3 brave ones stood ready, swords outstretched, issuing the challenge. In the wink of an eye, Musashi was on one of them like a fighting cock. There was the sound like the popping of cork, and the ground turned red. Then came a chilling noise, not a battle cry, not a curse, but a truly blood-curdling howl. Musashi's sword screeched back and forth through the air, reverberating in his own body, telling him when he connected with human bone. Blood and brains spattered from his blade. Fingers and arms flew through the air. The Ronin had come to watch the carnage, not to participate in it, but their weakness had led Musashi to attack them first. At the very beginning, they held together fairly well because they thought the priest would soon come in to their rescue. But the priest stood silent and motionless as Musashi quickly slaughtered 5 or 6 Ronin, throwing the others into confusion. Before long, they were slashing wildly in all directions, as often as not injuring one another. For most of the time, Musashi wasn't really conscious of what he was doing. He was in a sort of a trance, a murderous dream in which body and soul were concentrated in his 3-foot sword. Unconsciously, his whole life experience, the knowledge his father had beaten into him, what he had learned at the Sekigahara, and the theories he had heard at various schools of swordsmanship, the lessons taught him by the mountains and the trees. Everything came into play in the rapid movements of of his body. He became a disembodied whirlwind, mowing down the herd of Ronin, who by their stunned bewilderment left themselves wide open to his sword. Yeah, slowly Musashi is becoming one with nature, the spirit. That life is not about the physical. It's not about his brute force. It's not about how strong he is physically, how tall, how perfect he is. Although he treats his body well, right? He treats his body well. He doesn't drink. He doesn't consume anything that's unnecessary for his body. He does treat his body well, as he should, as everybody should, as a temple. He's learning that it's in the spirit. It's connecting with nature. And as you see here, as the fights go on, it goes from house to house to learn. That becomes more evident that he's becoming one with the universe. Then he does run into the abbot of the Hozoin later, and they do explain to him how they set up the Ronin. He doesn't actually end up finding the priest. The priest actually end up helping him clean up the Ronin. Once again, he asks the priest for advice, asking him, hey, what lesson can I take away from this? And the priest tell him again, exactly what we told you in the temple at the Hozoin. You're too strong. It's in your mind, it's in your eyes, it's in your spirit. That's what you need to learn. Anyway, peace. And we'll meet again.